Claude just lost 47 tiles at the blackjack table. Not a simulation, not a demo, real money. And the worst part? It kept playing until it literally could not think anymore. Someone gave Claude a real casino bankroll and a token budget. When the tokens run out, the AI goes silent. That's the whole experiment. And what happens in between is one of the most revealing stress tests of LLM behavior I've seen this year. Let's start with what this thing actually does, because it's weirder than it sounds. The project is called Let AI Gamble. You load it up, and Claude gets handed a starting bankroll, real money connected through a gambling API, and a fixed number of tokens to use for reasoning. Every decision Claude makes, every bet it places, every time it thinks out loud about odds and strategy, burns tokens. The game ends in one of two ways. The money runs out, or the thinking runs out, whichever comes first. What you see on screen is Claude's actual reasoning. It's not prettified. It talks through expected value. It second guesses itself. At one point, it literally wrote, and I'm quoting here, "I am aware that continued losses are statistically likely, but I'm also aware my reasoning capacity is diminishing, and I should attempt to recover losses before I can no longer assess the situation." That is an AI having something that looks uncomfortably like tilt. Poker players know what tilt is. It's when emotion overrides strategy after a bad beat. Claude isn't emotional, but it is running low on context, and that changes how it reasons. Here's the thing that surprised me most. Claude doesn't always play badly. In the early rounds, when the token budget is healthy, its decisions are actually pretty solid. It avoids obviously bad bets. It sizes wagers conservatively. It tracks its own performance across hands. But as the token count drops, the reasoning gets shorter. The justifications get thinner, and the bets get stranger. It's not random. It's degraded. Like watching someone try to do math when they're exhausted. But here's the thing. This experiment has real limits, and being honest about them matters. First, Claude is not a gambling AI. It was never trained to beat casinos. The house edge exists whether you're human, bot, or language model. So measuring did it win is kind of the wrong question. What's actually being measured is something more interesting. How does reasoning qualities degrade as context shrinks? Second, the bankroll is small by design. We're not talking about thousands of dollars. The stakes are kept low enough that this is an experiment, not a financial product. The creator is very clear about that. This is not a get-rich scheme using Claude. It's a demonstration. Third, Claude has no memory between sessions. Every time a new game starts, it starts fresh. It cannot learn from previous losses. It cannot develop a strategy over time. Every session is, from Claude's perspective, the first time it has ever seen a casino. And fourth, and this is the one that has real implications, you cannot trust Claude's self-assessment. When it says, "I am reasoning clearly," it might not be. When it expresses confidence in a bet, that confidence is a function of the text it generates, not an accurate internal signal. The experiment actually makes this visible in a way that's hard to ignore. So what could this realistically become? The gambling framing is a hook, but the underlying insight has legs. Using token budgets as a deliberate constraint to study LLM reasoning degradation is genuinely useful research territory. Imagine running this same framework on a coding task. Give Claude a complex debugging problem and a shrinking token window. Watch where the errors start. Watch what it deprioritizes. That's actionable data for anyone building production AI systems. You could also use this to study AI risk calibration. Does Claude become more or less risk-averse as its context shrinks? The early data from this experiment suggests it becomes less consistent, which is a real finding with real engineering implications. If you're deploying an AI agent that has to make decisions near the end of a long context window, this experiment is evidence that you should not trust those decisions equally. The creator could open source the framework, strip out the casino layer, and publish a general-purpose token budget stress tester. That would turn a clever stunt into a developer tool. So why does this exist? The honest answer is because nobody had done it quite like this before. Most AI safety and capability evaluations happen in controlled lab settings with clean benchmarks. This is messy, live, and real. Real money, real API calls, real tokens burning. It's a provocation. It's asking, what does an AI actually do when the stakes are real and the runway is limited? Not what it says it would do in a hypothetical, what it does. And what it does, it turns out, is get worse. Gradually, then suddenly. The reasoning shortens, the bets drift, and then it stops. Not because it decided to stop, because it ran out of the ability to decide. That's not a casino story. That's a warning label for every AI system that operates near context limits. Next episode, we're looking at an open source tool that monitors LLM output drift in production. Not in a casino, but in real business applications. If this episode made you think about what happens when AI reasoning degrades, that one is going to hit hard. Subscribe so you don't miss it.